Hello, welcome to the Historic Podcast. My name is Daniel, and today I'm going to talk about the civil rights movement, and I'm going to talk about the civil rights movement book. This book is a really important book because it make us reflect and think about our history and about the United States history and about what happened. Even though it was a really sad history, really sad story, it's important to know and understand what happened because people from our generation and from the future generations will understand even better what happened, and they won't have uh, more chance to repeat these bad things that happened in the past. So, a long time ago, in the beginning of the 20th century, uh, the civil rights movement started happening. So, black people had different rights from white people. As I told you guys in the beginning of this podcast, it was a really sad story because black people didn't have the same rights as drinking in the same drinking fountains as white people, and they didn't have the right to sit at the same place in some restaurants. The bus drivers, had to pay attention to make sure that black people had to sit in different places in the bus, uh, in a in some distance from white people. Uh, Sometimes the black people couldn't walk in the same sidewalk as white people, or while white people was walking in the sidewalk, black people had to move to another side or stop walking there, and black people couldn't study at the same schools as white people. And some important thing too is that black people couldn't vote. They didn't have the right to vote, so they couldn't change their situations. So it had to change, so brave individuals began a kind of revolution called the the civil rights movement. So since this time, things started changing. Even though the slavery was banned in 1808, uh, some people from United States even sold and bought some slaves. So it made abolitionists fight even more for their rights. So in the north part of the United States, slavery was illegal, but it still happened in the south part. That's why we until nowadays we have some some facts that that are made of this segregation in the past. So as I told you guys, in the north part it was illegal, but in the south it was legal. That's why it still happened for a long time. So, and for many years. But an important historical figure appeared and began be known for everyone. The name of this historical figure was Martin Luther King. He was a really important figure in the United States history because Even though there was a lot of uh, abolitionists, he was the most important because the his way to give some speech, his way to teach about the civil rights movement was different from the others, was even more powerful than the others, even though uh, the most of the things that he taught was the same. And a lot of people decided follow him and listen his words. And he helped the black population to having the right to vote, for example. So it helped them to change their situation. Uh, Martin Luther King became famous because of his speech and because he did a really important and famous speech in Washington D.C. and in other important place for uh, United States, and he is known uh, because of the famous phrase "I have a dream" as well. So even though he was one of those abolitionists, he was the famous one because he, as I told you guys, his way to teach, his way to explain about the need of this revolution of the civil rights movement was different and was powerful. So that's why he became even more famous. So this is a little bit. This is a little part of this story. Is a really important and interesting story, and the book explained very well each detail of this story. The details about the schools when black people started studying in these schools, and when black people started having the their their rights. So thank you so much. It was the historical podcast, and have a good day.